Issues like homelessness and human trafficking have never been more evident than they are today. A church in Alberta has taken on the challenge to help with these issues in a big way. Joining me now is Jen Tribble, the executive director at MyCityCare. She's a pastor and a figure leading the way to a brighter future. Jen, thanks so much for joining me today. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so you are the executive director of a ministry called MyCityCare. Can you maybe explain to us what this is?
Sure. So My City Care is a local program that came out of Parallel Church back in 2016. And since then, it's been rapidly growing and expanding across our province and into other provinces. We're now in 10 different locations serving many communities, which has been amazing. We focus on different programs around different issues such as food, clothing, housing, social justice, like you mentioned, with human trafficking, health, and anything where there's gaps or different needs in the community that we're just willing to come in and help find solutions and be a part of addressing the problem.
That's incredible. So it's been around 7 years, which that's gone so fast because it
So
feels
fast.
like it's just been a few years. And you said out of Parallel Church, the one out of Lethbridge, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
which 10 communities has it spread to?
Yeah, so we have different communities. So we have Lethbridge, we have Claresholm, Okotoks, Lloydminster, we're in Tabor, we're also in Penticton, BC. We're moving rapidly into Saskatchewan, which is really exciting. We have different church partners here in Lethbridge, so we're partnering with a few different churches here. So we're in all those communities, but out of those communities, we're serving the group population.
Yeah, definitely. So how does it help address food insecurity among local families and vulnerable individuals within all these communities?
Yeah, so every community is a little bit different, and we kind of come in kind of with an open hand and saying, how can we help and how can we come alongside the local community there? So in Lethbridge in particular, we help with different things like food lunch programs. We do a You Pick pantry out of our office where families can come in and kind of pick what they need because everyone's needs are a little bit different, especially culturally. We have a lot of newcomer families here in Lethbridge, like specifically. And so they can't eat certain foods. So we tend to kind of make it a little bit more user friendly and let them pick the things that they need or are most relative to them and their dietary needs. We also help out with like mobile food programs, lunches that we give out to the homeless. There's quite a few different ways that we do it. Last year we handed out 80,000 meals, which was incredible.
Wow. That is incredible. Oh, that's amazing. I mean, on the one hand, congratulations, but on the other hand, it's so sad that it is a need that has to be filled. Speaking of which, can you maybe share any stories or testimonials that highlight the positive outcome of this outreach?
Yeah, we just actually came through a really crazy season. So we just finished our Step the Bus initiative, and across our locations, we served over 3,500 kids. 1,000 of those being in Lethbridge, Alberta here, and then the rest of them across the province. But it was a really big need. We had a lot of families come in to access things like school supplies and shoes and coats, winter boots, things like that. A lot of families who even messaged us personally after the event and were like, we couldn't have done this without you guys. Thank you so much for your support. There's a lot of families who have messaged us and been like, I don't know what we would have done without you guys. So it's been a really big season for, I think, families getting those extra expenses when it comes to times like back to school and
Right.
Christmas. We see that.
And we're getting into that season right now, aren't we? That festive season where the budget seems to get even tighter. So I'm sure that the need is going to go up very, very soon. But Jen, your mission in life seems to be dedicated to helping people. So another aspect of My City Care is finding solutions for human trafficking. So that ministry is called Not for Sale, right?
Yes. So we have a ministry that we partner with called Not for Sale. It also has been an organization that's birthed out of our church, and it's been around for even longer than My City Care. But yeah, its mission is to help eradicate human trafficking, which is a huge need, not just in Canada, but around the world.
Yeah, it really is. And it seems to be worse now than ever before. And it's hard to believe that. But what is the biggest misconception about human trafficking today?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions we see is that a lot of people think that it is just overseas and that it doesn't happen in your own backyard when we see the effects of that even daily in our office here in Lethbridge. And so we see a lot of people that are coming in that are accessing services that also might be in situations that are difficult for them to bring forward or discuss. And so part of our job is to build relationships with them through our office and just make it a safe place where they can connect with people.
So you're saying it happens like right here in these
Oh,
smaller communities.
absolutely.
Oh, that's incredible. I know that you also, as well as making a difference in the community, you go, outreach as well. So I believe your group offers outreach in other countries, right? So I saw on your website you do missions in Mexico.
Yes, that actually is a part of our not-for-sale ministry as well.
Yeah, interesting. I know that people can kind of sign up to go do missions for that. If you do a mission, what does that look like?
What we typically have done in the past is we would take a team, and so we do training and different types of training with our teams here, and then we will take them down. And it's usually very specialized, and it's an amazing experience.
Okay. What about locally? How do you help somebody that comes in and who is a victim of this or has seen something?
For sure. What we'll do is usually connect them to the appropriate services. So we have amazing agencies within Lethbridge, like the Sexual Assault Center. We have different connections through the police department. And so if somebody does come in, we'll get them the appropriate supports that are relative to them. We tend to be a bridge builder.
Okay, perfect. Can you maybe share any personal stories that have come out of working to free these children and these women?
I would say when it comes to in Canada and stuff, a lot of the situations are very interwoven. So they're very complex situations. They're not like they're going to come in and express that they're in a situation like that. A lot of the times the people that come through the doors are dealing with multiple things such as poverty and addictions and homelessness. And so they're very vulnerable in those situations. And sometimes because of the nature of it and the manipulation and deception that goes into that, they don't necessarily recognize that could be a situation that they're in. So a lot of the times we really work on that relationship piece and building trust and a safe place where they can connect with different members of our team. And then if they do come forward, then we can help them report it or get them connected through the different agencies and channels. That would be the best route for them. But because it's so unique in every situation, that pathway looks different. And so we might connect them right away into a rehab, or we might connect them into a place where they can have safe shelter and a thing. So it's very different and unique to the individual and what they're going through and their needs that are unique to them.
I would imagine it's very psychological too, because these people are in bondage. And do you find that I would imagine it's not easy for somebody to come forward. They're probably terrified, for one thing. Does this usually happen with the person coming to you, or is it usually done through somebody else, that somebody is aware that something is going on and you guys go in and intervene? Or do you get law enforcement involved if that's the case?
It would most likely be law enforcement in those types of situations. We in our office are more on the bridge building and relationship building side. And then so we would hand them over to, like I said, the appropriate resources that can help and take the next steps, whether they want to press charges or they want to just be in a safe situation. It really does vary. And sometimes the part that we play is the part where we just connect them to the appropriate places for them, especially in Canada. Right? Because the systems here are so different.
So, Jen, how can the average person help to put an end to something like this, to human trafficking?
Yeah, I think there's lots of very practical ways that you can help. One of the biggest things that we can do is educate the public about it and let people know that this isn't just something that happens overseas. It happens in our neighborhoods, in our schools, in our backyards. So one of the things that you can do is spread awareness of what to look for and the signs of human trafficking. And it's not to cause fear, it's just to bring awareness to it and the fact that there might be people that are going through this and they don't recognize it as human trafficking. Like I was saying, because of the deception and the manipulation around it, sometimes it's difficult to recognize. One of the other things you can do is donate. You can donate your time. You could donate resources that help go into programs that are fighting human trafficking, that are creating safe spaces in the community for people to bring their story forward. That's really important. And so there's lots of organizations that are dealing with situations like this, but they're just like their part is to create a safe space and to build trust and relationships, right? There's lots of frontline organizations that are working with vulnerable populations who, even if they aren't being trafficked, they're at risk of being trafficked. So the more places that we have that are safe and approachable for people with those kinds of situations, the better. So donating your time, volunteering at local organizations that deal with vulnerable populations is incredible. You can give directly to MyCityCare, not for sale, online. So you can go onto the websites and make a direct donation to those places. And yeah, there's very practical ways that we can fight it locally. The biggest thing we can do is educate and let families know what to look for, educate our kids, have safety online. That's a big one, because like a lot of the times, like a lot of times our kids and victims are approached online. So having good online safety is really important.
That's a huge
As
one. Yes.
parents, being really aware of that. And yeah, just having those safeguards in place.
Okay. No, that's interesting that you brought that up. You mentioned looking for the signs. What are these signs that we're supposed to be looking for?
Yeah, so I think some of the things that that are kind of the telltale signs are if people are isolating from their friends and family. That's a big one. So if you're seeing changes in how they approach life, they're isolating. Sometimes they might be carrying multiple phones. That's a big one. I would say being away and not knowing where they are, or maybe they will know where they are, but if you ask them, sometimes their stories don't add up. And bruising or tattoos sometimes can be an indicator, but like a big one I think is big one to watch for is isolation, multiple cell phones. As a parent, I think you know when something's off with your children, and keeping an eye on those social media platforms and different things and how they're communicating with their friends and family. And yeah, isolation is a really big one.
Okay, no, interesting. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll switch things over to you a little bit more personally. So you and your husband, Tim, head up online pastoring for Parallel Church, which currently has campuses here in Lethbridge, as well as Clare's Home, Lloydminster, Tabor, and Okotoks, right? So both of these ministries, Not for Sale and MyCityCare, run out of Parallel, right? So how did you and your husband get involved in this type of ministry?
Yeah, we moved here from Penticton, BC, just
Wow.
over like 10 years ago. And we were a part of a church there, and we ended up going to a conference in Edmonton, and we were looking for a change in our life, and we ended up meeting some pastors actually from the church here. And they invited us to come down one Sunday, and we fell in love with it and the vision of the church. And we decided 6 months later, we packed up and moved, and we were here.
Interesting. Well, Penticton is such a beautiful area. It would have been hard to leave. So obviously you had a big intrinsic motivator there to make you jump over. That's amazing. You mentioned Parallel Church. So what are some of the other missions that Parallel Church is focused on right now?
Yeah, we are really, really focused on love and impacting our community. So MyCityCare is a huge focus of Parallel Church. We also are really focused on building community in smaller groups. So right now we're doing a lot with our house parties and connecting people into smaller groups, because it's difficult sometimes to make friends in a big service on a Sunday. But if you can meet in homes and build relationship and have community, people tend to really thrive in that kind of environment. So we're really big on connecting people into homes and getting them connected and meeting friends. And so that's a big focus right now. Like I said, Not for Sale is another one of our ministries. We have kids ministry and youth ministry, and our youth ministry is a really fun time for anyone who's got teenagers and they're looking for something for them to do. We've got a solution for them.
Amazing. Great little plug for your church there, Jen. It's amazing. Well, thanks for your time today. I really commend you on the work that you're doing in the community.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Jen Tribble is the executive director of MyCityCare and a pastor at Parallel Church.